Hey guys, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by a limited time offer from photography.com.
Yeah, Carlin turns on the TV, Christian flips off the screen, cause there's no good children's shows that he's seen. We've got dogs with blogs, superheroes in the ER. All dads are dumb and kids have better PR. Carlin just smile, Christian sits with the scowl. He complains to his son, all the kids should suck now. They sit and discuss the show's plus and minuses while you listen or watch on YouTube to the arguments. Who is right? Is it the son or the dad? Either way you get to laugh knowing Christian is mad. So pull up a chair, get the corner poppin'. Here's a new episode of What Are We Watching?
Now, photography.com is the place to take your photographs and transform them into works of art. They can print your photos on canvas, framed canvas, metal, acrylic. They have photo clocks, they have photo chalkboards. They have more options available. And right now, I have a limited time offer for you. If you go to photography.com/PlaidDad15, you can buy one and get 3 free. That is a crazy offer, and with the season coming up, this is perfect for Christmas gifts. Buy one, get 3 free. Oh, and guess what? They're gonna throw in free shipping as well. This is a deal you can only get through our podcast. So go to photography.com/PlaidDad15. Hey, send us a pic of the photograph you choose, and maybe send us a pic of the canvas or acrylic or metal or clock or chalkboard that you get your photo printed on. We would love to see it. This is a great deal. We are so happy to offer this to our listeners and our website users. Photography.com/PlaidDad15. Buy one, get 3 free plus free shipping. You will not get a better deal this Christmas season. Again, photography.com/PlaidDad15. Check them out. I know you'll be excited. Now let's get on to the episode. Hey guys, we are here for this special, not mini, but mega episode of the What Are We Watching podcast, the podcast where I watch horrible kids' TV shows with my son, Carlin.
They're not horrible.
Most of them are horrible.
No.
We have the exception to the rule today. It got a 7 out of 10 from me, basically just because the dad was so awesome, and we're here with the dad. I'm going to count him as the star of the Thundermans. Who else matters? Mr. Chris Tallman.
That is the best intro ever. Thank you. And stay on him, Carlin. Don't let him talk down your favorite shows. You have to show him why you love these shows.
He does, actually. We had a very intense discussion about Little Einsteins.
Oh, okay.
And everybody, it seemed to be like a sacred cow, Little Einsteins, but I was like, this show is really bad. I really hate this show. It's not educational. It's throwing crap on the wall. A monkey could literally make this show.
I like the art. I like it like when they go into
Exactly,
the paintings.
that's what I told him.
Okay, then let's get
the
into
art
it
is
for
cool.
just one quick second with Chris
All
Tallman.
right.
I will get into it with you.
Fair enough.
The fact is, they draw the kids a certain way, then the background art is another way. They have like a kangaroo that they try to make realistic, which really just gives him dead eyes. Then they're like, here's some Aboriginal art. And the whole time they're playing white European trumpet classical music in the background instead of Aboriginal instruments that they could be doing. It's everywhere. It's all over the place.
So your criticism is it's a little too scattershot, and you like a little more focus in it.
Well, I love scattershot on like SpongeBob. It's great.
Oh.
But if you're selling a show as being, hey, we're really educating your kids and giving them entertainment, maybe you focus in on 2 things. You know, you have only 2 or 3 stories, an A, B, and C story in your show. This show's all over the place. And I'm like, it can't be educational if it's trying to do everything.
But it's only one story.
I know, but they're all like that. It drives me nuts as a dad because he's like, oh, I feel like I've learned something. I'm like, what did you learn? He's like, there was cool art. I said, okay, who were the people that made that art? You know, they never say. So he's like, I don't know, some cave people. I'm like, oh, that's great. You've got instead
They
of saying
tell
Aborigines,
you
cave
who
people,
made
you
the
racist.
music.
They do have
That's
good
true.
classical music. That has nothing to do with where they're at. These are the conversations we have, and we did not have it about your show because it was
That's it.
better.
The debate will continue on and on. There's no winners here.
No, there's not. Just our viewers.
Yeah, that's true.
And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, so we want to get started. Do you want to ask Chris any questions, Carlin?
Sure.
Okay.
So, how was your Thanksgiving?
Good question. It was great until I have two daughters. They got food poisoning that night. The first one around midnight, and the second one around 4 a.m. So I'm sure you can appreciate this. So we were up all night, and the vomiting stopped around noon the next day. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, but fortunately it was a 3-day weekend, so we had that extra time just
to vomit.
Just to clean up, try and get some naps in. We watched movies and stuff like that. But the food was delicious.
Well, now, how did they get sick? Did you cook the food?
That would be the normal way.
I mean, was it your fault? Was Dad cooking the turkey?
No, we were over at a friend's house. We think it may have been, they were at another friend's house the day before, and it may have been something, they were like frosting like holiday cookies.
Oh.
And so there was, I guess, like some raw egg in the frosting. So it might have been that.
Right.
We don't know. What we do know is that we were over at a friend's house meeting their family for the first time. So it was like almost 30 people. So as soon as the girls started throwing up, I had this nightmare of, we just infected a whole family. And fortunately, nobody else got sick. So we're like, it probably wasn't a flu.
Right.
It was that's why I'm kind of like, it's got to be some kind of food tummy thing.
Don't let me be patient zero. That's all.
Well, especially as a parent, you're like, as soon as like one of your kids starts getting sniffles, you start feeling, where did we just go? Who did I just ruin by getting them sick with some kind of, snotty bug thing?
All right. Well, that was more than you expected to find out.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is that too much information? Should I back off that a little bit?
Really
It was
giving
fine.
All right. How was your Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah, what'd you have? What's your favorite dish on Thanksgiving?
Cranberry sauce.
Really?
Canned cranberry sauce.
Really? I love like the stuffing and stuff like that. I'm more like a carb guy.
Well, other than cranberry sauce, it's green bean casserole.
Oh, that's a class with like the crispy onions on top.
Yes.
Oh, so good. I could eat that like cold out of the fridge.
So you have lots of superpowers on your show.
Yeah, I got a few.
If you could have only one in real life, what would it be?
Oh, flying for sure. I just think flying is the coolest thing in the world. Just to be able to like go up there and soar. A lot of people, I always feel like whenever you hear some version of that question, they always it's always between flying or invisibility. I don't want to be invisible.
I was thinking invisibility.
Is that what you would want? Now, why? Because you like spying on folks?
Honestly, yeah. That would be cool.
Where's the first place you'd go to spy on somebody?
I would go to spy. If I was a villain, I would go to spy on the bank.
Oh!
That's not spying, that's stealing.
Fine. Fine.
Potato. Really? I like flying. I think the strength would be really fun too, but I feel like that, I don't know, in day-to-day life, strength, like being able to pick up a car or something, not that often. But flying, like, you can get anywhere you want to. Anytime you're bored, just soar.
Yeah.
What about teleportation?
Yeah, I like that, but I think there's something about the physical act of, like, going up into the sky. Like, anytime I'm in an airplane, I like staring out the window and just kind of looking at the clouds. There's a ride here in California. There's Disneyland, and then there's another park called California Adventure. There's a ride there called Soarin' over California. Have you ever seen it? I don't know how to describe it. It's sort of like a flight simulator. You sit in a row of chairs, and then all the lights go out. And what you kind of realize is, after the fact, all the chairs are on a giant kind of crane. So if they're sitting flat like this, it goes up. So now all of a sudden you're 30 feet off the ground, and you're in front of a huge it's not IMAX, but it's that type of giant screen
Right.
that is just footage of flying, and the whole gimbal moves, and they put in wind, and
Yes.
they put in smells that sort of coordinate with it. And to me, it's the only time I've been like, oh, I'm actually flying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's my favorite.
Well, he already answered your question about is he a dad in real life. Why don't you just jump onto that one that you were curious about?
Sure.
Do you feel like a dad to your younger co-stars?
Yeah, I do. I definitely feel like in the scenes, anytime we have a scene where, either I'm trying to either like console them or give them advice, that strangely enough now comes very easy to me because I don't have to do any imagination about that. And we all really get along. We all really like each other. I mean, which is how you hope every job is, but it doesn't always go that way. I'm sure like with school or at your job, there are some people you get along great with. There's some people who are fine, and then there's a couple people you're like, eh. But here, we all genuinely get along and like spending time together. So I really enjoy those scenes. The show tends to be more jokes. So the times when there are actual like emotions and caring, as both an actor and a father, I like that. Because I think about my kids watching the show, and I'm like, I would, I want to do a good job. I would like to try and show them like, oh yeah, parents care. We want our kids to turn out okay.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, big question. Do the laughs on the show come from the studio audience, a laugh track, or both?
It's both. And I feel like, at least I know, because I know when we're filming a scene, we want every episode to be shot in front of a live audience. And because of special effects and the kid schedule, like the younger kids, like Maya, who plays Chloe, she is only allowed to work 6 hours a day. So and they're very good about paying attention to, nope, we're at whatever, 5 hours and 45 minutes. We're not going to have enough time for that scene.
Right.
But in a perfect world, everything would be shot in front of the live audience. And I think it really helps because I come from a background of doing live comedy theater. I've done like a lot of improv and a lot of just straight theater. There is nothing like having that connection with the audience. They laugh sometimes where you think they will. Other times it's a complete shock. Something strikes them about the way somebody said a line.
Right.
Also, sometimes the laughs are longer or shorter. And you can tell in the scene, it changes the rhythm. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of see, oh, they're just holding. They're just waiting for the audience to come back down. And as an audience member, I love that because then I feel like I'm there. I'm watching it like a play in the room with those people.
Yeah, there's nothing better than being, and bad too, of being on stage and you say something and it gets a laugh when you're not supposed to, and you're like, why did it do that? And then you can never get it back.
Oh,
you
no.
try, and you're like, I did something perfect the other night. I didn't record it. What am I doing? And then you drive yourself crazy trying to get that laugh again.
Absolutely. I've had times when, like, sometimes you audition for something and you get the job and you're not quite sure why. And then while you're filming it, the director might kind of lean out and say, hey, in your audition, you did this thing, like you kind of did like a funny cough in the line. Can you do that? And you stop and you go, oh, I just coughed. But you realize that genuine behavior, that's what got you the job.
Right.
Comfortable enough to be a real person, as opposed to a very prepared kind of artificial performance in a way.
All right. So we look you up online, and of course I've seen you in lots of different things, and we have a lot of discussions about special effects on our show, which makes you perfect to talk to because you created your own show, Time Belt.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you wrote your own Wikipedia entry on Time Belt, but
I did not.
What it says is that you purposely used low budget special effects because that's the look you wanted. And I was wondering, is that really true, or did he have no budget and that's why he had low budget?
Oh, that is exactly the case. I'm very flattered that somebody was like, oh no, that was a very clever choice.
Right.
Thank you.
That is great.
No, when I made that show, it was for a group of people here in Los Angeles called Channel 101.
Right.
And the premise is really simple. It's like a short film festival, But if the audience votes at the live screening, and the top 5 vote getters are considered like picked up like a TV show.
Right.
And so you have to make them, it has to be less than 5 minutes, and it has to be made within that time period of a month. It's a monthly show. And I don't have any money, but what I do have is talented friends. Like you'll notice, like,
yeah.
like it's the same white, crappy Honda Accord in the whole show, because that's my car.
Right.
A lot of it's just in apartments. Like that end of that first episode, when I'm in that weird like tin foil room, that was, if the camera had been running, you would have seen I'm just standing in my living room, and for about 2 hours, me and my friend Matt are just taping roll after roll of aluminum foil
Right.
to everything. And then I had Christmas lights, and that's sort of what's creating sort of the weird lighting. Oh yeah, it's absolutely cheapo budget. I like the look of that though. There's something, it feels very homemade.
Right.
I think the intention in general with all of Channel 101, not just my show, but a lot of them, it's if we had $1 million, we'd spend it.
Right.
But yeah, I think the average budget for Time Belt was somewhere around between $50 and $100 per episode, depending on how many guest stars I had, who I would then buy lunch for as a way of paying them for being in it. Like that was sort of it.
That's great.
A lot of Channel 101 stuff just comes out of people going, what if we tried to make lasers? Like, how do you do that? What if we tried to make a puppet show?
And I feel like this is great for him because we do stuff here at the most low budget that you can do, just like you were doing. Right. And the gift that we have with all the software, you can go on YouTube and say, how did Star Wars do this? Ooh. And it's like, oh, anybody can make lightsabers. I've seen people do lightsaber effects with their iPhone nowadays.
Wow.
And it's crazy to me. And he just takes this for granted. And, where you are on TV right now started out with you being in your living room melting a guy's face on a pencil. Honestly, that's how you learn it, is just sort of by setting goals for yourself. And you probably know about this. There's a website thing called Video Copilot. Have you ever heard of it? Yes, of course.
I never known that.
It's great.
It is great. Me and some friends did a sketch show for Microsoft probably now like 5 years ago. And they basically gave us a budget. And, it was a video game sort of nerd-based sketch show. And so we set the bar very high for ourselves. And then we had to figure out, like, lightsabers. We had to figure out how to do, like, we did a bunch of Call of Duty sketches. Yeah. So we had toys, but they don't fire anything. We didn't have.
But they have all the flashes and the sound effects. And you're like, I need a UFO. Okay, they've got a UFO. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's tutorials. I mean, to me, that's one of the greatest things about YouTube. In addition to the actual shows, just like I had to change something in my faucet, and there's 30 plumbers who are like, hey, so you got a Collinger R35. Here's how to change that one out.
It's like if you could just click exclude horrible northern accent that I can't understand. That's what you need on YouTube when you're looking for that stuff. Because I did the same thing. Hey, you got this flange. It's like, buddy, I'm skipping you and going to the lady.
Next. I'm going to the one that's 3 minutes as opposed to 12.
Oh, yeah. I don't need to know how Rome did plumbing, just how to fix this.
Aqueducts, mainly aqueducts. Yeah, Time Belt was particularly good for me because all I really want to do is act. Right. But when somebody's not hiring you to do the job you want to do,
you have
to make it.
All right, this is awesome stuff you're getting. Soak it in.
I will.
Learn from my dumb mistakes.
So the fact that you had your own show and you did your own special effects on a budget, we always talk about special effects on the show. One of the things we talk about on shows like yours and some of the other kids shows with superheroes is that they really don't show superpowers very much.
Right.
And I've always said that that's probably budget and time concerns.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's mainly the reason that you don't have laser eyes in every episode or that a lot of the powers are, oh, I'm going to do this and make the guy move, that kind of thing?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think one part of it is violence. Like a lot of the superpowers, especially, like in a comic book or like a superhero movie, a lot of those powers are towards the service of like some kind of fight or combat. Right. But with like our show, there's very, for good reason, very
Right.
serious rules about like nobody can ever get hit in the head, for example. That's
Oh,
just
really?
like if there's ever a thing, you're not going to see punches to the head. It's just a standard rule because God forbid a kid sees that and thinks, oh, that's what I should do. So
like your sister who
Yes.
tried to hit somebody in the head with the real billy club I bought her for Halloween. Mistake
Oh,
on my part. Mistake
well.
on my part.
But now that we call that a learning experience.
Yes.
That's what that was.
It was a preacher that she tried to thunk on the head too.
Oh.
She said he was trying to get away from me, Papa. I handcuffed him and he ran away. She was gonna thunk him with a real wooden nightstick.
Oh, now that preachers learned a valuable lesson. So like that's a good example. And as a parent, I kind of appreciated that. I was like, oh, that's good to know. But then as far as like you're saying, like with budgets, I definitely think that's a concern. But I do know, like, we work on a weekly schedule, which means like on a Monday morning, we'll read through the script first, and then we'll rehearse it for several days, and then we'll film it Thursday, and then we'll shoot in front of the live audience on Friday. I know that one of the changes that happens throughout the week is that they'll say, we really want to try and get some demonstration of powers, even if it's just something as simple as like, let's stretch a hand to open the refrigerator, for example.
Gotcha.
Because a lot of times it's like, well, there isn't a place for zapping with somebody, but maybe she can zap a pizza to warm it up. Because they do want to have that in there.
Yeah, it's necessary because we've talked about that on a couple of shows we watch. I said, I don't think there was a superpower except in the theme song,
Right.
And they're right. That's important. And your show has more of them than others.
I think they try to do it. We are very lucky that we have a really talented editing and post, which is like all the special effects. Like
Right.
They're very talented. And they do a great job too of trying to make things happen practically, which means like actually while we're filming the scene as
Right.
opposed to all after the fact. But some things like example stretching, there's no way to
Right.
make stretching. But like the first time they handed me like a breakaway, like a cinder block that looks real and it even has the texture of it.
Right.
But as soon as you squeeze it, it just crumbles into dust.
Yeah.
First time they handed me one of those, I was like, I know I'm not super strong, but I think I'm kind of super. I
It
think I'm
made
not
you feel
strong.
awesome.
Yeah.
They do, because there's something about the way it's designed. It's basically just like a powder that's put into a mold.
Right.
So when you first squeeze it, there is a natural resistance. So like it doesn't just immediately disintegrate.
Right.
So you squeeze it, and for half a second, you're like, uh-oh, it's not breaking. I
Yes.
really got to. And so then you squeeze as hard as you can, and then it immediately shatters.
Right.
And so again, you kind of trick yourself and go, I'm the strongest man in the world.
How awesome is that? I mean, you're only a few years older than me. How awesome is it that now in your life you got to be Christopher Reeve Superman for just like 5 minutes? I mean,
It's the best because I come from I'm a huge nerd. Like I love movies and comic books and toys and all that stuff. Like that's what I love. So the fact that I get to mix that and comedy, which I love doing, like I'll never get another job like this. This is sure the most fun I've ever done. And really acting wise, of the jobs I've done before, it's really the first thing that I can show to my children and not like get in trouble with the government or something.
Right.
Like it's I love it. And they're now at the perfect age where they are starting to watch like live action shows as opposed to cartoons. So it's great for me for a number of different reasons.
So I guess he just answered your next question, which is your favorite show you've been involved with. It sounds like this one.
Yeah, I would say
as an actor.
Yeah, a lot of times it tends to be, it's sort of a standard answer, but a lot of times it tends to be whatever one you're working on at the moment. I'm very grateful for it. It's the best job.
What do you like more, performing on camera or on stage in front of a live audience?
Ooh, that's a very good question. What do I like more? I think I like the live audience more because it's a more honest relationship. Like, especially if you're making a movie or a TV show that doesn't have an audience, you really don't know how you're doing. You're so depending on either another actor or the director or producer to kind of say, okay, that was good, let's try again. But it doesn't really emotionally it doesn't give you anything. And in particular with comedy, if you're not hearing laughs, you're
The
kind of like,
beats, yeah. You wonder
Yeah.
where the beats are.
it's dying.
Well, I would do stand up here on the East Coast. I traveled to do stand up until we adopted the kids. And I was like, I just want to be home with them more than I want to be on stage, which is,
Right.
I mean, if I was in LA, it'd be different because you can be on stage in 4 different places in one
Sure.
night. And the only place you can do that is like 2 cities here on the East Coast. So,
Uh-huh.
so we decided to do stuff like this. And plus I get to encourage him to maybe one day move into the industry, you know,
Yeah,
because
and
he's
also
interested in it.
doing it together, again, as a parent, I love it because
It's so much fun.
and you'll have this forever.
Right.
What I mean,
I just cut out all the times when I yell at him. That's on the cutting room floor.
that's smart. That's just a smart creative decision.
Stupid. No, I don't say stupid.
Oh,
I said that to me.
yeah. Well, I think too, is coming from a world of live comedy, after a certain amount of time, you don't, I don't think I'm never really aware of it, but like you stop laughing. You're still in your head going, oh, that was funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's all you do. Even
Yeah.
with great comedians, and it started bothering me. You know, I'd see somebody and be like, yeah, that's really funny. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not enjoying this the right way anymore.
Yeah, I'm observing it as opposed to like being there and being present.
Yeah, you're studying. And
Yeah.
And that was kind of heartbreaking for me too, because, you know, I had to like take myself out of it and go, hey, first of all, you're not that good. And second of all, you need to just enjoy this moment you're missing. So
Yeah, you're right. There's a friend of mine is a comedian named Paul F. Tompkins. And one of the reasons
one of the best.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
One of in addition, obviously, to his talent and his material and everything, what I noticed about him is he is one of the most generous audience members I've ever seen. Like, he is the first person to cackle when somebody does something, and it really affected me because I was like, right, we're trying to be present and make ourselves laugh, but it's like he's there. He is
It comes through in every podcast he's on, even when he's just a guest and he just holds back to like a minor role. You just hear his laugh. It's different than everybody's. And it's like, it makes it sweetens the show.
Oh, it really does. It changes it in a really wonderful way.
Right. Okay. And that, man, you have just led perfectly into our questions. It's like
I snuck in the studio early and I read all your questions ahead of me.
It's perfect. He hacked our iPad. Okay. So this is literally what I wrote. I just don't have his name out of some of them. I said, you get to hang out with like the coolest guys in Hollywood. I feel like you're in that cool group of Hollywood, and everybody basically that's not in LA is paying attention to the Clooneys and the Kardashians and stuff like that. But I think the real cool crew is the Paul Scheer, Jack Black, who you've worked with,
right?
PF, you get to work with all these guys, the Comedy Bang Bang guys,
right?
So, you have all the cool part of Hollywood without the paparazzi. I feel like
sure
that's not, and maybe the pay, but that's fine.
That's it.
But do you kind of feel like you're getting away with something because you get to hang out with just the best writers and comics around?
I definitely feel, very grateful. I'm lucky. I feel like, I think a big piece of what we would call luck is sort of being ready to jump when opportunities sort of fall in front of you. Right. So it's the fact that like I've been improvising for over, it's coming up, I think, on 30 years. So I've been, practicing improv for a long time, and so that more than anything else just taught me this idea of there's a big tenet in improv, just that idea of yes and
right, yeah,
and so when somebody says, hey, we're doing a show, yes, absolutely, I want to help out, I want to be there.
You look at your IMDb page, it's huge.
I've been very lucky.
You were on Diagnosis Murder.
That's true. That was right when I moved to Los Angeles.
You got to meet Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, and that particular episode was called The Roast. So the premise of that particular episode is that Dick Van Dyke's character was getting roasted. So the other guest stars of that episode were Steve Allen, Audrey Meadows, Tim Conway, blanking on his name, who played the handyman on Newhart.
Tom
Poston.
Yeah.
Julia Duffy, who was also on Newhart. Like,
yeah.
just this murderer's row of old.
And that was like what, your second job, right?
Yeah.
First or second gig.
Yeah. And what was really nice is because there was just sort of this very special group of guest stars. Right off the set, they set up this giant circle of directors' chairs so they could all sort of sit. And because they all knew each other, they would sit and trade stories.
And you just sat in the back going,
I did. Oh, yeah. On that episode, I get diagnosed with a case of murder. So I had plenty of time to sit there. And so because I was one of the other people, they allowed me to sit with them.
Oh, what a
Oh,
gift.
yeah. And that, talk about like flying a wall. I tried not to move so they wouldn't
notice me. Don't notice me and throw me out.
Please, and just tell your showbiz stories, talk about it. And it was unbelievable.
But between that job and the next job, like right away you had to been like, I'm a star now. I'm with all these people. It's great. And then it goes like a couple months and you're like, oh, where did it all go?
That is a strange thing about this job is like, yeah, while you're working, you kind of feel like, oh, this is amazing. Like every day I get, for this job, we shoot on the Paramount lot.
Right.
So every day I come to work, you drive under that arch. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Right.
But which also I think another good side of that is then, I come home and I've spent time with my kids. And I think staying grounded and remembering just the little details of a true day-to-day life, I think it's really important.
I kind of feel like that's when you know the real good dads in Hollywood, when you see an interview and they're like, yeah, I just want to get a sitcom. It's not necessarily about the money, but I work a certain number of days. I get to see my kids at night. Yeah, I know it's long days, but you're like, I'm home every day.
Yeah.
And when I hear them talk about that, I'm like, oh, those are the good ones right there. They're,
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of truth to that. It's a good,
That's a good gig.
It's a very good gig. I highly recommend it.
All right. So do you have any more questions for Chris, Carlin?
So what's your dream project? Anybody you're dying to work with?
Ooh, good question.
That's like a great last question. Good job.
Who are my heroes? I really love Bill Murray. I would love to be able to work with him someday. We just watched his Christmas special on Netflix, and I absolutely loved it. I've heard from people that it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
But I love that movie Lost in Translation that was in, and it's very much in that vein.
Yeah, he turned a corner, and now he doesn't get everybody anymore. But if you love him, it's great.
Yeah, because like Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Bill Murray. If I got to keep on making things with like Paul F. Tompkins and like the guys from Super Ego is a podcast that I get to do sometimes. I would for sure do that.
Right.
Who else would I want to work with? Patton Oswalt. I think he's amazing. I'd love to get to do something with him. Albert Brooks.
Oh, he was on Fallon last night. I think.
Was he
Fallon
really?
Last night. Two segments.
Was he great?
Oh, he's just awesome. He was just telling stories, and you could tell half of the audience didn't really get it. And I was just like soaking it in. I'm like, this guy is it's masterclass whenever he talks.
Oh, he's so funny.
Because he doesn't care about being famous, and so he doesn't care about what he's talking about, other than it's interesting to him. He doesn't care if it sells to 100% of the people. If he gets 10 or 15, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, it just was great. And he just sat back with his hat on, don't care, just delivering just gold, to me, at least.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's the best. Him and his brother. They're just awesome. They're so great.
Is there anybody that you guys really want to have on the show? Like, you guys have a wish list for guests that you want to talk to?
Well, I mean, all the guys that you talk about are Paul Shear's my big wish list guy. So,
how about you? Is there anybody you want to talk to?
I would want to talk to the guy who was the voice of Chewbacca in Star Wars.
Oh, the voice of Chewbacca in Star Wars.
Peter Mayhew?
Peter Mayhew. Wow.
Oh, that's a good one.
A friend of mine got to talk to him. So.
Oh, yeah, because they just did it. Did they just do like a tour on the East Coast promoting the comic book?
Right. Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff, which is hard for him because it's hard for him to get around now.
Yeah.
So
it is.
Man,
a friend of mine writes the Chewbacca comic book for Marvel and got to do like a mini tour. I think they were on the East Coast going around, and said he was the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, that's all I've ever heard about him. He's just so accommodating, even though it's literally painful for him to be in a certain spot for so long because he's so tall and he's bent up on those tables. He just pushes through, which is amazing.
I went to Comic-Con a few years ago, and people always line up early in the morning, so this was probably like Friday or Saturday morning, and there was an older guy who was on crutches, but not sort of the traditional, like the armpit. They were more like the brace crutches, and he was at the door and knocking, trying to get the guard just to let him in to sit down. And the guard, she was doing her job. I'm sure she was told, don't let him in. And as he was knocking, I noticed he had an English accent. And so I just kind of looked and saw that his name tag said David Prowse. And I was like, that's Darth Vader.
Whoa.
Let Darth Vader come and sit down. Like, ignoring the fact that he's an older guy and clearly has trouble getting around. Right. It's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Just let him sit. That was an upsetting moment to realize in fandom, like, oh, wow. It all comes down to the lady at the door. No.
She wouldn't have believed him anyway. She would have said, you're not James Earl Jones. You're lying. Obviously, you're British.
Yeah, you're clearly not Darth Vader because there's that guy right behind you who's dressed exactly like Darth. That's Darth Vader.
She's never heard the original tapes with that guy's voice that just sound horrible that you can listen to on YouTube now.
Yes.
It's just the worst.
Oh, so funny.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on here with us. It's
my pleasure.
Way better than we ever expected, and I'm just so happy to. I'm trying to introduce Carlin into this kind of world, and he's interested in it. He's an artist, just like your friend. Neat. He draws comics, and we do these videos. He wrote a little short film that he starred in with me, and it's just today's world. You can get there this way. Yeah. If you just really work hard and care about it.
And don't stop. I feel like that if there's one thing to take from any of this, it's just that tenacity and just saying, I'm doing this because I love it and I hope other people do too. But if it makes you happy, then don't stop. Keep doing it and find a way just to keep plugging away, because sooner or later something will click and someone will recognize your work. It takes time though sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, just thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Do you have
I
any
was
other
very
questions?
happy to talk to you.
Oh, I'm so happy I get to talk to you too. Thank you for saying so. When I first saw your video, I was so excited. Obviously, just to hear anybody watching the show and liking it is a delight, but also because it's the two of you guys together sharing it, because that's how I experienced the show with my kids, and so to sort of see that in your relationship, it was really nice.
All right. Well, just thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey guys, we'd really appreciate it if you click subscribe. So please do that right here. And if you'd like to see another funny video, well, look, it's playing right here. All right. Now click here if you want to rain fire down upon me. You don't want to do that. No, don't click it. Ah!
This production is brought to you by the Plaid Dad Blog Podcast Network. For more information, visit plaiddadblog.com.